Welcome to No Flipping Excuses with Jason Lucchese. Jason Lucchese was the guy voted least likely to succeed by his high school peers. Today, Jason's a real estate flipping ninja Jedi Knight assassin who's taken his drive, street smarts, and never give up attitude and converted them into a real estate flipping business and freedom-based lifestyle. After years of being chained to a cubicle in the mortgage business, watching his coworkers go bust, customers go bankrupt, and his hairline go bye-bye, Jason decided to make a change and blaze his trail to the flipping promised land. Each episode, Jason shares real-life real estate case studies, tips on how to find, finance, and flip deals, and mindset tactics he uses every day as a real estate investor, mentor, and leader so you can free yourself from the shackles of corporate America, fire your boss, and live the life you've always dreamed of, right flipping now. Here to share the truth about flipping houses, finding sellers, delivering buyers, real estate investing without the reality show hype, and all-around general business badassery. Your host, Krav Maga enthusiast, husband, and father of 3, Jason Lucchese.
Hey there, everyone. It's Jason Lucchese with the No Flipping Excuses show. Welcome. I'm glad you're here with us right now. I've got a really good friend of mine, a really awesome guest that's going to be joining us here on today's show. But before I introduce him to you, I want to just say thanks if you're a returning subscriber and you've left us a 5-star review. If this is your first time listening to the No Flipping Excuses show, I'm extremely excited to have you on here and really give you a taste of what we're all about here. We're all about giving you content. We're all about giving you ways to really get the results that you desire in your business. So make sure after you listen to this episode with myself and my good friend that I'm going to be introducing to you here in just a second, that you go ahead, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and we'll be continuing to put out these amazing episodes for you. So without further ado, I've got my good friend, Mr. Brian Page, with us, and this dude is doing some amazing things in real estate that, to be honest with you, a few months ago I had no idea that you could even do this. And this is getting cash flow coming into you every single month without ever owning actual real estate. And Brian completely flipped my way of thinking with his strategy that he does. It's the Airbnb strategy, the B&B formula. And without further ado, let me introduce you to my good friend, Mr. Brian Page. Brian, how you doing, buddy?
Dude, I am phenomenal, Jason. How you doing, man?
Man, I am doing good. I'm glad we're able to sync our schedules up and get this going. I know you and the wifey are planning some vacations, and you're actually going to be using Airbnb, which is awesome. Yeah. But glad to have you on here, man. How's everything going in your world?
Life is good. I'm blessed. What can I say, man? I'm just pumped to be here, and I'd love to teach, and I'm hoping to bring some serious value to your listeners. So
no, I'm sure you will, man. Last time we did a training webinar, I think it was the highest amount of attendees that I've ever had before, and it was all because of the topic of getting cash flow coming in monthly using other people's properties. So that is awesome. So let me ask you this, man. What made you, or how did you discover this strategy with Airbnb?
Well, I come from a real estate investing background. I got into real estate investing right out of college. It was the first thing that I did. It was the first successful venture that I had as an entrepreneur, and I was flipping houses and wholesaling houses and building properties and multifamily, you name it, I've done it just about. And the only thing I haven't done is commercial properties, but I've done all kinds of residential properties, and I was doing well. And I was buying properties, renting them out, making some cash flow, and that was kind of, I was really into the Kiyosaki and the Rich Dad Poor Dad and trying to build cash flow. And I love that concept, but what happened is I lost everything in the big crash of '08, and so when I started over, I didn't really feel like going out and signing my name to a bunch of debt, and I just really was looking for a new model. And I thought, well, you know what, this home sharing thing is really booming, and so I'm going to try this Airbnb thing. I just took a spare room that I had in my apartment and put it on there, and it was doing so well that I thought, wow, this I can't believe how much I'm earning on one little room. What if I had a whole standalone property? So I approached owners that had properties for lease, and I just pitched them on the idea. I was like, hey, I want to lease your property, but I'm not going to live in it. I'm going to put it on the home sharing sites. And most of these people didn't even know what Airbnb was.
Right.
And if I pay the rent on time, I take care of the property. Will you let me do this? And I surprisingly got yeses. Not all the time, but enough where I started getting yeses, and I started getting these properties. I got one and then another. And then before long, I added one every single month. And the kind of cash flow that I was making on them makes traditional real estate investing with the long-term tenants look like child's play, because like if you took a one-bedroom apartment, let's say, or one-bedroom condo, and you owned it, and you pay your taxes and your interest and your PMI and whatever you're paying on it, you're putting down 10% or 20% down, you're looking to get, I was looking to get, when I owned property, $100, $200, $300 a month, maybe 400 if it was really a killer cash flow on a property on a one unit.
Yeah.
But with Airbnb, my first listing, I made like a couple grand a month consistently.
Nice.
And then my second listing, there were months where I was making even more than that, $3,000, $3,500 net. So consistently, it was easily 10 times the cash flow. And I was doing it on a property that I had very little out of pocket. I'm talking like a little deposit, and I'm ready to roll. Get a deposit, get the first month's rent, I'm ready to roll.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that, I thought, you know what, this is the new way to do it. Now you can do it with property you own, of course. Right. It's a great way to build wealth, and I have nothing against anybody who wants to buy property and do this that way. But for those people that don't want to get on that road, it works either way. It's just a phenomenal way to make cash flow, bring cash flow into your life on a very part-time basis. And you can do one listing, you can do 10, you can do 100. I mean, the sky's the limit. No,
that's you bring up a really great point, because like my wife likes going up around Father's Day up to Lake Michigan, and we normally go through and we look at an Airbnb for the places to go, and I didn't really think about it. I remember we were sitting out one night looking at the lake there, and I was like, you know what if we got one of these and started getting the cash flow? Because we talked to the actual the company that was doing the management for the actual owner, and they were like, yeah, we're booked out all the time, even in the winter. And if anybody's not familiar with the winters in Michigan, it's pretty nuts. It's pretty crazy. Like it's snowing like all the time.
Lake effect snow.
Oh yeah, you get the lake effect is right there. So it's freezing cold and there's nothing but snow. But the cool thing is these things are rented out year round. And it's because it's on the lake and it's close for folks like myself. Like, and I've got 3 kids, so hopping on a plane and traveling sometimes can be a little bit difficult. And just doing the straight shoot up to Lake Michigan makes so much more sense. But when I was talking to you months ago about this, it would make more sense for me to get my feet wet with somebody that may already have a property owned, and then I could just go out and do this Airbnb thing myself.
Some of your listeners listening right now probably already own investment property, but I'm going to guess they have leases on those. So they can't tomorrow go list one of those on Airbnb unless it's vacant. Right. So this is a way to play that game, the arbitrage game, with someone else's property. Yep. They get to win because they're looking for a tenant. You give them you're the tenant for them, and then you get to make money with home sharing, and then the guests get a good experience. So it's kind of a win-win-win, which is great. And the thing that makes what I teach very different from just doing Airbnb, you don't need to come to me to learn how to do Airbnb. It's not that complicated. What is complicated is scaling the business, because you're going to make, some money having one listing, but the real money is in multiple listings. And I actually know several people that are in the 7-figure mark. We're talking people that make over $1 million a year on Airbnb, which is ridiculous. And it's totally happening. Like a guy that I interviewed a few months ago, his name is Trey. He's got 63 listings. I think he's got probably more like 80 now because I haven't talked to him in a few months. Yeah. His goal was to have 80 by the end of the year. And he's grossing, probably about $2 million a year on Airbnb. Oh, jeez, that's awesome. He owns some of those, but a lot of those he does not own. He's just crushing it. So, there's people like that. I mean, it's incredible. It's really a cool opportunity. And so it doesn't take a lot of them to generate a big income. And I've had a lot of students that have actually got to the 6-figure mark very, very quickly, because it doesn't take a lot of listings. I mean, if you have, let's say 5 listings, each making a couple grand a month, or 8 listings making $1,500 a month. That's all it takes to get to 6 figures a year. I'm talking like in your pocket.
Right.
So it's pretty amazing thing. And I just read this today. Actually, there are where is the? I'm going to grab the book here. I just read this factoid and I forgot about it. There's a really good book out called The Airbnb Story.
Oh, nice.
And man, I read this fact and I forgot that I highlighted it because I highlight things in my book. And this thing blew me away. Check this out. It's talking about the growth of Airbnb. And let's see if I can find it here.
I like the hat that you're wearing too, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I just got a Porsche like literally a month ago. So
nice.
So I wear this all the time now. Let's see here. So it was talking about the numbers. Where is it? Oh my gosh. The numbers of people that are joining on a consistent basis. And it's like millions and millions of people. Let me see if I can find it here. I'll find it here in a second. I just highlighted it today. How many people are joining Airbnb every single day in the home share?
That's awesome.
Sites, compared to how many hosts there are. And when the book was published, they said it was 100 million users, only 3 million hosts, and half of those were not available all the time. In other words, 3 million listings, but only half of those listings were full-time listings.
Oh, geez.
So you have 100 million people trying to cram into 1.5 million listings. So it's just like it's growing like crazy. It's just pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, the demand is there, and that's a great part right here. We're gonna actually be coming back here with Brian in just a second. We're gonna be talking about some of the ways that you can get in on this Airbnb opportunity. It's growing like crazy, and right now would be the opportune time to get involved with the Airbnb formula. Brian's got this dialed in, so you do not want to miss out. Stay tuned. We'll be right back, my friend. Have you been struggling to close your first real estate deal? I hear this all the time, and you're not the only person in the not having closed your first deal boat. I was there, and the feeling is horrible. I can tell you on page 103 of my book, Right Flipping Now, I address how you can easily overcome closing your first deal quickly and easily without using any of your own money or credit. My first deal closed when I was on vacation. I made $26,000. You can do the same thing. Grab a copy of my book at getmyflippingbook.com and you can get your first deal closed for massive profits. I have copies of my book available at getmyflippingbook.com, and you can have a step-by-step plan for making profits on your first deal, closing within the next 30 to 60 days. Go to getmyflippingbook.com. That's getmyflippingbook.com. www.getmyflippingbook.com. Hey there, everyone. It's Jason Lucchese, and welcome back to the No Flipping Excuses show. I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. Brian Page. I want to call him Mr. Airbnb. He's a stud when it comes to knowing how to use other people's properties for awesome monthly cash flow. And we've been talking about different ways that you can get yourself involved with not having to own properties and receive cash flow on a monthly basis. When Brian told me about this strategy months ago, I was really blown away because I was thinking, hey, I'm going to go buy some properties. This Airbnb thing sounds pretty cool, so I'm going to own them. And then when Brian and I spoke, he was like, no, dude, you don't have to own them. You don't have to. You can, but you don't have to. And Brian, before we left, had an awesome statistic that he wanted to share with us.
Found it.
Yeah, you just found it. What is it?
Okay, so according to Airbnb Story, it's the story of the company, how it was formed, where it came from, and where it's at now. It's a really great story. It says, as of this writing, the company is adding 1.4 million users a week.
Wow.
A week. So 1.5 million people per week are joining and trying out Airbnb for the first time. So I just want you to think about that for a second. And 80% of those listings are not even in the US.
Oh, geez.
So that just gives you an idea. It's a global phenomenon. It's growing like all over the place. And I've got students that are kind of all over in different countries around the world that are doing this. But yeah, so that's basically what I teach is how to get in there, how to get leases. I even have ways to do it without leases now. There's ways to do it where you can actually partner with the owner, where you don't have to sign a year lease anymore, which is pretty killer.
That is.
So, yeah.
That is really, really killer. Dude, so let's back up here just a little bit. And I know we were talking about you rented out, was it a room you said? You're like
okay, so I started. Now keep in mind, after the real estate crash, I didn't own any property. I rented, and I rented for years, and I had a 2-bedroom apartment, and my roommate moved out, and so I thought, let's list that sucker. I listed it on Airbnb. That's how I started earning money.
Nice.
But then I went to found a unit a couple blocks from where I live, and it was an attached apartment behind this lady's house, and I approached her, and she said yes, and then that was my first standalone listing. And then from there, I got 1-bedroom studios, 2 bedrooms, all kinds of different types of properties. And then that was I quit my job after about my 4th listing. I quit my job, and that was what I was doing for income.
Yeah.
And then I was just focused on the Tim Ferriss. You guys can see I love books. I'm obsessed with books. So the 4-Hour Work Week. I'm pitching I'm pitching somebody else's book on this thing. 4-Hour Work Week is all about outsourcing, automating. Those ideas that I didn't come up with, I just applied them to my business. Because what I wanted to do was see how much money I could make with the least amount of input of time. And so what I teach now is how to systematize it so you don't have to clean properties. You don't have to talk to the guests and run your own front desk. You don't have to do all these things that you would normally do if you're running a quote hotel.
Yeah.
So that's the name of the game. Then you can scale it back. And I was able to scale it back to like 2 to 4 hours a week. That's it, to manage all the listings.
No, that's awesome.
And so that allowed me to give me that time freedom that I wanted. And then that's where people started approaching me and saying, how did you do this? How did you systematize? Because nobody was teaching it online.
Right.
And still nobody's teaching what I teach. I mean, there's people that teach you how to be a good host on Airbnb and stuff, but nobody teaches what I teach.
No, that's awesome, man. That brings up another point too, that nobody really even knows about this from our standpoint as an investor.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. So your first time after like you rented out that room and you approached somebody, how did that go? Like, what were you feeling when you went and approached somebody? Like, how did that conversation go?
Well, I mean, at first I didn't know what I was doing. I was fumbling around because I was like trying to get this person's looking for a tenant, right? They're looking for somebody to rent their apartment or their house or whatever, but they're certainly never heard of what I'm proposing.
Right. So
I had to get really good at getting people to kind of like me and build rapport with them. And then I would get like a no, and I'd be like, okay, well, why? Tell me why so I can kind of improve. So I would get some feedback.
Yeah.
And then say, well, this little issue. Well, what if somebody, destroys my property? And so I thought, oh, what if somebody destroyed the property? Well, there might be insurance out there I could get. So I looked it up and I found out there's really cheap insurance you can get for this business.
Yep.
And it covers the landlord. So I thought, okay, now I got that piece in place. So I plugged that in place. And then I said, they would ask all these questions about like, well, wasn't it going to be wear and tear on my property? And I started doing research and I found out, no, it's actually a lot less wear and tear on a property than having short-term guests. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but short-term guests don't generally paint the 3rd bedroom a pink color, or they don't put a satellite dish on the roof because they're there for 2 nights, right?
Yeah.
They don't have their dogs in the backyard digging holes under the fence. I mean, these are things that happen with long-term tenants. They don't happen with short-term guests.
Right.
So short-term guests actually take better care of the property. And so I started learning these things and I started pitching landlords in that way. And now I have a whole way that I tell people, this is how you approach the owner, to pitch them so they'll say yes. And it works. And I have students that'll say, oh my gosh, it doesn't happen all the time, but I have students that'll say, the first person I approached, not only did he say yes, he gave me like 4 units. He's like, I'm going to give you all my units. Like one guy, he got a 4-plex. And I was like, whoa, do 1 unit, learn how to do the business, then add another 2nd, 3rd, 4th unit. Don't do it 4 at once. And but he got offered 4 units by one owner who was an investor and said, sure, if you want to take all the units, I'll give you all the units. So
wow,
it's really cool. So it works. And then now I've been teaching people that you can also build wealth this way. And so you can actually go buy a property. You can pay it down in like 5 years, 6, 7 years, very quickly by applying all the income you have to to building equity.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to build wealth if you want to go buy properties. So it works either way. You can own or not own.
No, that is good. And one thing to point out to folks is what Brian was saying, and we're really, really big on this, is you don't want to pitch benefits all the time to people. You want to pitch solutions. We're in the business of solving problems for people. So if we could come in and talk to a landlord and solve their problems, because most landlords have so many headaches when it comes to tenants. If we could come in, solve their major problem of getting them cash on a monthly consistent basis without having to hunt down a property manager for the check, or, you know, they come in, they have a problem tenant, like Brian was saying, they do the most wear and tear. And I know because I've had rentals before, and back to back on one particular property, I won't forget it. They completely trashed the whole thing. They just let their dogs urinate all over the place. I don't know what they did to the walls. It looked
this kind
like
of stuff doesn't happen. I mean, it doesn't happen with Airbnb because you got to understand. Somebody that's booking one of my Airbnbs, they have already uploaded their license or their passport. They have to in order to book with me. Yeah. They've already put their credit card on file. They've already paid in full for the entire week or the entire 4 days that they're staying there. They have reviews from other people because I only accept people with reviews. I mean, there's all these things they have to go through before they get to me.
Yeah.
And so you get a higher quality person, and you don't get somebody that's looking at it like they don't act like they own the house because they're only there for a few nights. They don't treat it that way. They're not going to smoke in the property because I don't allow smoking. They're not going to bring pets because I don't allow pets. Now, you can allow pets, but I don't. And so there's these rules in place so that you get good people.
Yeah.
And it's just when an owner understands that, then you kind of blow their mind. I've had most of my owners that I've worked with have said, you know, you keep my property in a condition I have never ever seen a tenant keep the condition
right.
of the property. Because you have a cleaning company come in 3 times a week and clean it top to bottom because that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
You have to keep it clean for your guests. And then even beyond that, I started finding other tricks and techniques that you can use with owners. So one owner said, I don't know if I want to do this. And I really wanted this unit. It was a 2-bedroom unit. It was $1,200 a month. I really wanted it. So I went back to him and I said, well, what if I paid you $1,400 a month? He's like, why would you want to do that? Like, his mind was fried. He's like, why in the world would you pay me $1,400 a month? I was like, because I know I can make profit. And I didn't tell him how much profit. It's not his business how much profit I make.
Right.
But I knew that unit would bring me $3,000 a month, at least. So I was going to pay him $1,400 a month to secure the unit. And guess what he said? Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
And then I went back to him and I said, okay, and I want to go month to month.
Oh, and he's cool with that, huh?
I was like, I want to do month to month lease so that if any point doesn't work out between us, we can separate with a 60-day notice or whatever. And then now I'm not tied in for a year of lease, right? There's nothing scary about it. At any point I can stop this thing and shut it down.
Yeah.
And he said yes to that. And I said, look, I don't want to rent from you for 3 months or 2 months. I want to rent from you long term. But this protects you and it protects me, which it does protect him because he can cancel anytime too.
Yeah.
So now I have this ongoing monthly rolling rental agreement instead of a long-term lease. So there's all kinds of creative ways you can do this now. And you can, I'm not saying you have to go offer owners that right up front, but if sometimes that's what it takes to seal the deal, I'll do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there's all kinds of techniques like that blow people's minds, and you'll be surprised how many people will say yes. You can look at 6, 7, 8, 9 properties in a weekend and get 1 yes or 2 yeses, and then you don't need a whole bunch of these things. You need a few of them.
Right.
You're not trying to get like 10 every week. I have some students who are like, I want to get 10 by the end of the week. I'm like, just get 1 and then add 1 a month or 2 a month and you'll be doing fine.
Yeah, because once you added that first one, you said how much did that start making for you on a monthly basis? Like $2,000?
Well, I have a free training that we can tell people about if they want to see and actually show you the numbers. I'll show you the inside of my account exactly to the dollar, what I made every month, every listing, all that kind of stuff. But I think it was like $2,000 the first month and $2,200 the second month. It was a little over, right around $2,000 each month on that thing.
Yeah.
It went even higher than that. I found that is anywhere from 2 to 3 times the expenses. So if a property is like, $1,000 a month with the utilities, I'm just using a round number. That's really cheap, but let's say it's 1,000. It could bring in 2 to 3,000. If it's 2,000, it can bring 4 to 6,000. Okay. Generally, that's what I saw. I have some students that do even better than that, and some students that do lower than that. But the cash flow is usually considerably more than what the costs are on a monthly basis. And now I've had students. By the way, I didn't tell you this. Since the last time I talked to you, I've had some students do some really unique things that I myself haven't even done.
Oh, wow.
I have a couple students that are getting multi-million-dollar properties and listing them on Airbnb.
That's awesome.
There's a guy from Scottsdale, Arizona. I met him in person, so I know he's real. And I've been to his house because we just shot an infomercial at this house. It is a 6-bedroom, gigantic, multi-million-dollar home in Scottsdale, Arizona. And he got the owner to let him use it or lease it. And he made something like 6 figures in the first 90 days, like $100,000 in bookings.
and I think it's like a $7,000 a month house, so it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
But he's making $1,000 in the first 60 to 90 days on that one listing. He's killing it. And now his only deals in the high end. He's like, Brian, there's no competition. Nobody tries to lease these high end properties, and I'm scooping them up left and right. So you can do high end if you want to do high end. It just depends on what level of cash capital you have access to. It's crazy. It's incredible what people are doing.
Man, that's crazy. That is awesome. that is phenomenal. So
now I'm thinking about doing a high-end like training, like here's how you get the multi-million-dollar properties,
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to come back here because we've got a lot of exciting stuff to continue to share with, top tricks, tips for using this Airbnb strategy that you can be getting cash flow every single month within your business without having to own other people's properties. So Brian and I will be right back. We are going to be sharing a ton. So stick with us here. You do not want to miss a beat of what we are sharing with you, my friends. So we'll be right back. Talk to you in a second. I hear from real estate investors how much of a challenge it is finding motivated sellers. This is happening all over the country. Real estate investors not knowing where their next deal will come from. I can tell you on page 141 of my book, Right Flipping Now, I address how you can easily find deeply discounted off-market deals. The 98% of investors out there don't have a clue about this. You can easily duplicate this process within your own business today. Grab a copy of my book now at getmyflippingbook.com, and you can start finding deals for 50, 40, and 30 cents on the dollar without any competition. I have copies of my book available right now at getmyflippingbook.com, and you can have a step-by-step plan for making profits within the next 30 to 60 days. Go to getmyflippingbook.com. That's getmyflippingbook.com. It's www.getmyflippingbook.com. Hey there, what's going on? It's Jason Lucchese, and welcome back to the No Flipping Excuses show. I am with my good friend Brian Page here, and he's been absolutely blowing me away with the amount of information he's doing right now in the Airbnb space. And if you've missed up to what we've been discussing right now, once we're done, check it out on iTunes or on my YouTube channel. But this guy literally is coming up with the most amazing ways to really get cash flow coming in every single month using other people's properties. And we just got done talking about one of his students finding multi-million-dollar homes and getting six figures in income within 3-4 months?
No, less than 90 days.
Less than 90 days.
No, it was less than 90 days. I thought I was bragging because I did it in 6 months. I made over $100,000 my first 6 months on Airbnb, and this guy goes out and does $100,000 in less than 3 months, and now he's got several of these multi-million-dollar properties, and he's just unstoppable. It's crazy. Man. So it's great to see students that are going beyond even what I've done. It's cool because I don't claim to be the biggest and the baddest in the world. I'm just really good at teaching and teaching exactly how I did. How I started from scratch and did what I did.
No, man, that's awesome. And what I wanted to kind of go into this part right here is some of the folks that, I've talked to in the past about this strategy, because we obviously did a free training class in the summer, and we just completely wowed the heck out of, almost 1,000 people were with us. And a lot of folks were just wondering, what's some of the best strategies? You don't have to give them all. Maybe your top tip for finding landlords. What would you say is a good way to do that?
Well, it's one of those things. It's there's no way I could teach all those things in the short time we have. So I do go through those things in depth in my training. I have the B&B formula is basically video training, a course that you go through, and there's an entire week where all we do is talk about how to locate properties.
Yep.
But to answer your question, really all of my listings, there's no secret place. I go to Craigslist. I drive neighborhoods and look for rent signs. I look on classified sites. I like PadMapper, which is really cool, which shows you on a map where all the locations are of rentals. Cool. PadMapper is great. I don't like as much the Realtor.com or the Zillow and those kind of things, because you're going through an agent.
Yep.
And I found that if you go through an agent, you will not get a yes. You have to talk to the owner directly. By chances, that's another thing I learned, trial and error. I kept going to managers and property management offices, and they all just said no. They're like, policy doesn't allow that. So I got a lot of pushback.
Yeah.
But when I met with an owner like Mr. Smith, the owner of 123 Main Street, Mr. Smith, all I had to do was convince him. And usually that was a lot easier because, if he liked me and he believed I was going to pay the rent and take care of the property, he'll say, yeah, we'll go ahead and sign a lease.
Oh, yeah.
So don't waste your time with property management companies, property managers, realtors. Don't go that route. And also don't approach properties that are institutionally owned. So I'm talking the big apartment complexes, the 200 unit apartment complex, because I used to salivate and think, oh my gosh, if I could just get the 5 or 10 units in that big apartment complex, I'm set.
Yeah.
But you approach them and their answer is going to always be no. And I tell people, do not sneak around and do this behind people's backs. It's just not good business, and it's not the way that I teach. And you don't have to, because you can get this in writing, in permission, up front from the owner if you do it correctly.
Right.
That way, you're not going to be secretly trying to do this, which some people do. Yeah. Some hosts do that. They secretly list them on Airbnb, and then later on they get burned big time when
that's
they
not cool.
finds out. So I'd rather partner with the owner, tell them what I'm up to. Then there's no surprises there, and my business won't be shut down later. So that's what I teach.
So in the actual lease agreement, Brian, you're flat out being transparent on what you're planning on doing.
Yeah, I take a standard lease and I modify it, and then that lease now says it usually has an addendum attached to it. An addendum is just an additional document that goes on the back of the lease, and it just says Brian's not going to live in the property, but he is going to host short-term guests in the property. Yeah. And it usually says something like, this is not a sublease, because most people understand a sublease is that someone else is signing responsibility to pay the rent on that property, right? You lease a property, then you sublease it. It means now somebody else is legally responsible to pay the rent. Well, that's not what happens with Airbnb. Right? When you stay in a hotel, are you subleasing the hotel? Of course not. You're not subleasing. You're a guest. Just because you're paying doesn't make you a sublessor. So that's what I teach is like you're telling the owner, look, there is nobody that's going to be responsible for paying this rent for me. I'm the only one. It stops with me. You do not need to do any extra work. There's nothing extra involved for you. There's no extra cost for you to be involved with me. And I'm just going to get it in writing exactly what you're going to do. And then if I decide to insure the property, which you can do cheaply, like $50-$80 a month, which nothing, you just pay it out of your cash flow. Then I can tell the owner, not only that, I'm also going to insure the property, and I put that in writing. So now the owner feels more comfortable, And then Airbnb gives you $1 million guarantee on top of that. So you have a guarantee from Airbnb for $1 million. So you have all these guarantees and protection levels for the owner. And that's it. Once they sign that lease, I provide the lease for them. I don't leave things to chance. I say, here's a lease. If you want to do business with me, sign the lease. I'm in charge. I'm not in charge. And if I ever feel like I'm not in charge, I don't want to deal with somebody anyways, right? You got to kind of be a professional. Present yourself as a professional.
And one of the things too is everything is done through Airbnb. So you're protected from that standpoint too. So if something does happen to the property, they trash it, credit cards on file, right?
Credit cards on file. And actually, I also read that factoid, and I'm just wanting you guys to know where I'm getting these factoids. It's the same book. 40 million guests staying in Airbnb in 2015. Instances that resulted in more than $1,000 of damage occurred in 0.002% of the time. So not 1/10, not 1/1000th of a percentage chance, or 2/1000th of a percentage chance something will happen. So it's very, very rare that anything like that ever happened to me. It's never happened to anybody that I know, any major damages. And I'm not saying it can't happen, but that's why you protect yourself. And yeah, Airbnb handles all that. They also handle the payments, the calendar. You don't have to advertise because they do that for you. You don't have to do anything other than find the property and create the listing. And creating the listing correctly is extremely important, because if you don't do it right, you actually make a lot less in your bookings. So I teach people how to optimize, and there's a lot of tricks you can do to optimize to make sure your listing gets to the top and gets clicked on more than any other listing. And that's what drives your bookings. That's what fills your calendar with paying customers.
No, that's absolutely awesome, man. And I know some of the things that you're doing right now with Airbnb is just really securing that cash flow that's coming in every single month, and you're giving a peace of mind to the actual landlord. And landlords need to take notice, because they don't have to worry about some lousy tenant coming in and trashing their property. Because whenever we go to Airbnb properties that we rent out, we want to leave them like, leave them completely clean when we leave. So it's pretty cool that this is able to do that and provide not only a win-win-win, a win for the landlord, a win for you, and a win for somebody to come stay at the properties, but everybody's happy. I don't know if a lot of landlords really aren't happy nowadays.
No, they're not happy. It's not fun being a landlord. I've been a landlord, but also you never have evictions. So if you're a real estate investor, imagine never having to deal with evictions because there's nobody signing a lease. You don't have to evict somebody if they're not on a lease.
Yeah.
So there's no evictions to deal with. It's just a different class of person that you get generally on Airbnb. They've done some studies that show the average person that's using Airbnb usually makes over $70,000 a year. They're usually upwardly mobile. They travel a lot. They're business people, whatever. It's just a certain type of person, usually a little bit tech savvy, a lot of millennials, that kind of thing. Yeah. So this is it's got tons of potential, and I've seen it work time and time again. When I first started teaching this, I didn't know if it worked for other people because it worked for me, but I was like, I don't know if anybody else can repeat my success. And now I've had literally thousands of students around the world that have gone through my training. And I've heard back from countless hundreds and hundreds of students that have been successful that have gone and actually just done it. And that's really the only thing that separates success from non-success is the people that actually just go do it and take action on it.
Yeah, and the great thing with your system is it's on top of it being extremely duplicatable, is you set it up in such a simple way that it could just be ripped off, rinsed and repeated time and time again. And with the systemization that you put in place just allows so much growth and opportunity for, creating, 6 figures, 7 figures per year that you never own an actual property, which is awesome. And even if for people that are just crushing it, like some of the students that you have that are making 7 figures, they could continue to do this, and they could also continue to maybe go buy properties free and clear. And now they've got some actual assets that, they own free and clear, and they could go do Airbnb stuff on their own properties. I know offline when you and I were talking, it's such an amazing opportunity. Like you were talking about potentially getting a multi-million-dollar home and renting it out in the summertime. Like I've thought about that too. You have somebody else paying your mortgage.
We're looking at beach properties. So oceanfront properties that of course are going to be the high season is going to be in the summer. Like if you're in Florida, the high season might be in the winter, but for here it's summer. Yeah. So in the summer, we bring in a huge chunk of money in the summer that pays for the mortgage for the most of the whole year or the whole year, and then live in the house the other 9 months. Because I like to live internationally anyways. My wife and I are getting ready to leave in about a week, and we're going to go for 6 months living around the world. And so we like to live internationally part of the year anyways. So I thought, well, we could go get a free house, honey, if we just want to, buy a house and then put it on the home sharing sites in the summer. Yeah. And bring all that money in, and the rest of the time and live in the property. So there's all kinds of ways to do this, creative ways to do this. But 98% of people that are on Airbnb right now only have 1 or 2 listings. Gotcha. So very few people that are even doing Airbnb know how to scale. And the only way to make a lot of money on the site is to scale. And so that's what I love teaching, and that's what I specialize in.
So this is something that came to mind as we're talking. What would you say is like the most common type of property that you're seeing that gets, rented out time and time again on Airbnb? Is there a property that, is just like the cookie cutter type property that, is known for getting rented?
I wish there was. There is not. In fact, there are castles on Airbnb. There's like several thousand castles. There's yachts on Airbnb.
I just saw that today.
There are tons of yachts. In fact, if you have a boat and you don't have it on Airbnb, you need to immediately, you could be surprised how much you're going to pay for your slip and make money as well. So there's yachts on there. There's everything is all the way down to a yurt or a treehouse. In fact, treehouses are the most in demand and profitable thing you can possibly list on Airbnb. So if you have a treehouse, like I'm talking about a nice treehouse, you can make a lot of money on Airbnb. But I would say, no, there's no rhyme or reason. I mean, I've got a lot of students that do single family homes. I tend to do the studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom condos and townhouses, and not single family homes. And then there's I've got students that are doing small, like rural cabins, like in the woods, like in rural Canada, to large cities, small cities, college towns. There's a guy I know in my old college town that's just crushing it. He all his houses are tailored to students and parents that come to go to that college town. It's in Boone, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And he's making a killing doing that. So there's really no rhyme or reason. It's there's definitely, you definitely want to pick the best property in your area, and I talk about that in my locate phase, where I tell exactly what kind of property I like to look for. But you want to get the best in a class. So if you're going to get a studio apartment, make sure you get the best studio apartment you can find. If you're going to get a yacht, get a nice yacht, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I teach, is look for something good in its class. But no, there is no one thing. It's just across the board. There's opportunity everywhere.
So take note on this, folks that are listening to this right now, is, I love real estate investing. I'm going to continue to do it. I love the Airbnb strategy, but sometimes a lot of newbies that come in, they get really frustrated because a lot of investors that are buying from them, they want what? 3-bedroom, 1-bath properties, or 2-bedroom, 1-bath properties that they can maybe add another bedroom. But other than that, that's all they want from a residential standpoint. So with this, the reason why I knew you were going to say it's a variety is it makes things, again, so much simpler, a simplistic way to do business. Who would have thought? You could actually have a simplistic business here. So here's what we're going to do, Brian. We're going to come right back. We're going to get some final tips and strategies from you here on the Airbnb strategy. So for those that are listening right now, this is some amazing content. This is one of the best shows that we've had for No Flipping Excuses. So we're going to be right back. We're going to get some additional information out of Brian. I'm not sure how much more we can get since he's already divulged some awesome stuff. So stay tuned. We'll be right back, my friend. Are you facing a roadblock with getting started in real estate? This is an obstacle a lot of brand new investors face. Building a rock solid foundation is key to building your investing empire. I can tell you on page 95 of my book, Right Flipping Now, I address how you can build a lasting foundation that won't topple over when you're on the 3rd floor. Do not avoid laying the proper foundation for your business. I've made this drop dead simple for you to just rip off and use within your own real estate investing business. Grab a copy of my book now at getmyflippingbook.com, and you can have the confidence you need to find and flip deals consistently month after month. I have copies of my book available at getmyflippingbook.com, and you can have a step-by-step proven plan for making profits on your very first deal, or maybe that second deal, closing within the next 30 to 60 days. Go to getmyflippingbook.com. Getmyflippingbook.com. Hey there, welcome back. It's Jason Lucchese with the No Flipping Excuses show. I'm with my good friend, Mr. Brian Page. We've been talking about how you could really cash in right now using the Airbnb formula. And there's just been some amazing things on this show, especially when it comes to getting cash flow for you and your business using other people's properties. Yes, we talk about OPM, other people's money, but OPP, other people's
Who's down
properties.
with OPP?
That's right. That's right. So Brian, what would you say for somebody right now, they're listening, they're wanting to get started, what would you say to them? I know this is very, very simple to really kind of get this thing going. And then once you get going, it's easy to scale. But what would you say to somebody that really wants to get into this thing? What's your top tip for really getting this thing moving?
I'd say do what I do, which is leverage your time, and that's through knowledge. I believe in paying for speed, and the only way I can pay for speed is to leverage other people's expertise.
Yep.
So could you do this on your own? You could. Would you move fast? Probably not. Would you make big mistakes and spend a lot of money like I did trying to figure it out? Probably. So, I found that people, when they work with me and they learn from what I've learned, and not only me, I bring the best experts in the world into my coaching calls and my trainings. I bring other people that are even farther along than I am to teach my students and teach me how to do this. That you learn, basically you're buying time. And I spend tens of thousands of dollars every year on education and learning from people that know things that I don't know.
Yep.
And so what I offer is basically a shortcut. It's like, if you want to get there quickly with something that's proven and it's worked, and it's truly a formula that you can go apply. And I've seen work over and over again, that I can help you do that. And we're going to give you some information on how you can watch a free training where I go more in depth into this, because I just kind of hit some of the high points, but I didn't really explain it all. So if you're still trying to figure out how this all works, you probably want to just check out my free training. It's like a 90-minute thing where I just literally, it's a free web class where you can just learn it all. So that's what I recommend. I quite frankly is learn from somebody who's done whatever it is you're trying to do. So if you think there's something you're at all interested in, check it out. And like I said, in that training, I'm going to go through and show you specifics, because I don't like to learn from somebody unless they can show me specifics. Like, I want to see how much they made. I want to see the proof. I want to see exactly what they did. I want to see other people that have also done, the same thing they've done. So I know it's not just a fluke. Yeah. And I'm going to do that. I want to see that before I ever consider working with somebody. So anyways, that's free. There's no cost for that. And Jason will give you the link for that. And also, I want to give you something right now that I think you guys are really going to enjoy using. And it's something that I created when I first started in this business, because I was using these complicated spreadsheets and calculators to try to figure out how much I could earn on a property, because there's these different moving parts, right? So I created this really simple thing, interactive tool called my property profits calculator. And what it is, it's just it's a tool where you can punch in the rental amount and the utility costs on a property, figure out what you're going to charge per day, and immediately it'll spit out a number. It'll give you a monthly cash flow and an annual cash flow,
nice.
Like down to the dollar, and also a net amount. Like, this is what you're going to net into your pocket after expenses.
Yeah.
And it also calculates in the fees that Airbnb charges and the fees for your virtual front desk, which is absolutely essential. You have to have a virtual front desk if you don't want to be answering the phone all the time and answering emails all the time from guests.
Right.
So to get that, it's I'll give you the link. It's propertyprofitscalculator.com, propertyprofitscalculator.com. You'll go there and you just play around with it. Check it out. And the first time I saw this, I hired some guys in India to create this for me, because I didn't know how to code or any of that kind of stuff. And then when they brought it back to me and I started playing around with it, I couldn't sleep the first night, because I was starting to calculate, oh my gosh, if I get 3 listings, 5 listings, 10, this is how much I'm going to earn. It blew my mind. So that's just my gift for you for listening. And you guys check that out. I think you'll enjoy it and enjoy using it. So propertyprofitscalculator.com.
No, that's amazing, man. And Brian and I actually have the free training class. It's coming up. You can go to noflippingexcuses.com/Airbnb. So again, if you want to attend that free training with Brian and I, it's going to be noflippingexcuses.com/Airbnb. Brian and I are going to be on there. Now, the last time we did this thing, I will tell you, we completely sold out the attendee list. Yeah. We literally had, I think, 1,700 people plus registered, and we only had a maximum amount of 1,000 that we could get on. So we literally had people messaging us saying, hey, I couldn't get on. And Brian just gives so much content away on these free classes. If you thought this was great, you need to attend the training class, because he dives in, he shows you screenshots of his account, screenshots of the listings that he's doing, different styles of how you can get properties. It's filled with so much information. And that calculator is also pretty cool. We've been using it.
Yeah, I got some extra news here for you too that I didn't tell you. I do coaching for my students, in group coaching, which you're aware of.
Yep.
So it's part of my whole training. So I have an online training that you can go through on your own, but then I also have coaching where every month I get on live calls with everybody around the world and we talk. That is something I'm no longer going to be offering next month. So literally next month, just because of the sheer number of people that have wanted to sign up and work with me, I've just been giving away coaching essentially for free, which nobody else does. I know anybody in the space or in online training that does that. So I'm no longer going to be offering that. So if you guys once you go through the training and you see what it's all about, if you're interested, the coaching, literally, that'll be a totally separate thing that you have to pay extra for. But I'm still going to include that because I like working with Jason, and I've actually worked with his people before. And so I just want to let you guys know that everything's going to be changing next month. And so the course will be completely different and totally different price. And we're going to raise our prices just because, quite frankly, I mean, there's too many people that are wanting to join now, and there's only one of me that can train all these people.
Well, it's basic supply and demand.
Yeah, that's what we have to do. So the course will always be available, but the coaching will not as of next month. Yep. It's not going to be part of this program.
No, I know when we talked about this months ago, I told you, I was like, dude, you're absolutely crazy for doing that for free. I'm like, man, you're going to get bombarded, and you have. You've been bombarded by thousands.
I didn't have any students at the time. I thought, I don't mind teaching people, and then a flood of people. It was like crazy. I mean, it's been nuts. I mean, Forbes magazine, Inc. magazine reached out to me, did interviews with me. I mean, it's been crazy.
I know.
And that's just because, like I said, nobody was teaching it. And I thought somebody needs to teach this stuff.
Yep.
So that was me.
You've been amazing, man. And I'm super proud of the amount of growth and success that you've seen. And, even more proud of all the students that you've, given this opportunity to and helped them become successful. It's just amazing. So I'm always, happy to have folks like you on here that do give back to folks. So awesome stuff. Now, for folks that are listening right now, make sure if you have any questions whatsoever, you can call us at 317-900-1307. Or if you want to reach out to us via email, it's support@jasonluchese.com. And again, if you want to attend that free training class with Brian and I, it's going to be at noflippingexcuses.com/Airbnb. Now, Brian, any final words that you have since you are a guest on our show, my man?
No, I would just say, hey, if you want to ride this sharing economy wave that's about to crest, we're still early on this game, guys. We're still very early. 98% of people that travel in the world right now are still using hotels. That is changing, and it's going to change very quickly, and they're looking for hosts. They're looking for places to stay. And if you want to be in the front of this trend, a long-term trend, I believe, that's not going anywhere, then you definitely want to learn how to do this, because now is the time. Very few people know how to do it. Unless they've been through my training, they probably don't know how to do it. And so I recommend you jump in there and at least look into it, because you'll be glad you did.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Make sure you head on, join us for that free masterclass. Brian and I will be there, and we'll be answering questions too at the end. So stay to the very, very end. I'm sure people will have questions, but other than that, thanks for joining us on today's No Flipping Excuses show. Brian, thanks for being our guest, my man. I appreciate you. And we'll be talking to you soon. See us on the next episode. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review and subscribe to our iTunes page. I will talk to you soon. Make it a great day. Take care. Bye now.
Thanks for listening. For show notes and links to anything discussed on today's program, visit noflippingexcuses.com. If you'd like to call the show, dial 317-900-1307, 24/7. Leave a message with your first name and where you're calling from, and include your question, comment, or concern. Who knows? You might end up on the air with Jason Lucchese. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher. The links are posted at noflippingexcuses.com. Remember, you can close more deals now, make your own rules, and design and live an amazing life without having some jerk-off boss tell you what to do. Share noflippingexcuses.com with like-minded people you know who are ready for badassery, crushing it in real estate, and enjoying freedom to whatever you like, whenever you like it.